Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Lori Swanson here, CEO and founder of Inspire Tech and the leader of Career Alchemy Academy. Today, I am here to talk to you about what I think of as one of a handful of career game changers, and I'm calling this one Beyond the Thank You Note. But first, I want to point to the QR code over my shoulder. We are having a special event on Friday, May 8th, 2026. I will be moderating a conversation with Mary Cook, who is a leader from Korn Ferry, and Gail Holmberg, recently retired leader from Fortium Partners, where we're going to talk about what it means to move beyond the 9 to 5. What would a fractional interim or consulting advisory role look like for you? How do you prepare for it? What are the pros and cons? What do you need to know? We'll have live Q&A. So register, follow the QR code, register, it's free. And if you can't make it on Friday, the 8th, then you will have access for a limited time to the recording. And so if you register, then you will get, after the event, you'll get a link to the recording. But I hope you arrive live because there's just a different energy when you're there live. And it's great for, of course, me and the Mary and Gail, but also in the moment, the questions that you might have, you'll have an opportunity to ask. So that's it for that commercial. So I hope I'll see you there. But today, as I mentioned, I want to talk about this another beyond the thank you note. So this started with I was listening to a podcast or recording of some sort with Dr. I think she's a doctor, Tina Selleck. She is a Stanford neuroscientist for sure. And she also is an author of a book called What I Wish I Knew About Luck. And she was telling a story about how a young man had reached out to her, had read her book and had reached out to her and asked for a quick 5-minute phone call to ask her some questions because he said he was considering becoming a luck coach. And so intriguing, right? And also 5 minutes. Who doesn't have 5 minutes for a young, or any age person who's asking for some help and support and advice? So of course, Tina Selig said, yes, I'm happy to jump on a call with you. And they did the call, and it was short, it was focused, it was done. He asked his questions. And no surprise, after the call, he sent her a note of appreciation, thanking her for her time, acknowledging that he understood, that her time, is like all of us, precious, and that to take time out of her work and her day to talk to someone she didn't know before this call mattered. And so he sent the thank you note, and in most cases, for most people, that would be that, right? But here's the like magical game changer that this young man did, that I want to connect to to add a little career game changer magic to your job search and to your work in general. So we'll talk about that. So what he did was, I don't know how long, but let's say a week, 10 days later, he followed up with another note, and he had a list of ways that he thought he could support the work she was doing, that he had read about in the book and researched some, and then even in the conversation, I'm sure, learned a little more about. And so he just said, hey, I've got some ideas and ways in which I think I could further support your work and love to talk to you more about that, right? And that what they had ended up creating was something that Tina said she had never done before, in all her years as as a professor and neuroscientist at Stanford. Is she hired him as a research assistant for some research she was doing around luck. And that, boom, is the magic, right? Because so I heard this story. I'm listening to what she's saying about what this young man had done. And I'm thinking about the many, many times that I've talked to and coached people about, hey, it is about who you know, right? And so reaching out to people and just asking for a quick phone call is how they become someone you know. And then, of course, just polite manners, right? Following up with a thank you note. But then this third step of adding some additional value, that's just crazy. And I thought, gosh, I'm just curious how many people, like, what's the data behind this? So of course I do some Google searching. And what I found out was a little bit shocking to me. And I think will also be a little bit shocking to all of you, is that, first of all, only 20, and we're talking about job seekers because that's where I was focused. Only 20 to 35% of job seekers actually reach out and ask for a conversation. I was shocked by this because that's like, I tell people to do that all the time. I'm like, it's like number one way to raise your visibility in the market is to reach out to people and ask for a conversation, either online or at networking events. Just, you're at an event, you meet someone and say, hey, would you be willing to jump on a call after this event? There's a lot of people we want to meet here. And, after this event, jump on a short conversation with me, 5-10 minutes, right? Most people are going to say yes to that. And so only 25 to 30%, which means 65 to 80% of you, all you job seekers out there, are not reaching out and just asking for a quick conversation with somebody. A hiring manager, a former colleague, someone who works at the company you're interested in working at, a talent person, um, a recruiter, you're just not even doing it. Up to 80% not doing it. And so then next step is the thank you note. So let's say you do reach out and you have the conversation. No surprise, this percentage is a little bit higher, but still there's only 30 to 50% send an actual follow-up thank you note. And so that means if we're looking at 30, that means 70% of you, 70% of people are not following up with a thank you note after a conversation. I was gobsmacked. I'm like, all right. And then, no real surprise here, but how many people follow up a thank you note with some sort of an additional value, like this young man did? And that number drops to 5 to 15%. So we're talking about 85 to 95% of people who've had a conversation, sent the requisite thank you note, are just letting it go and not doing anything after that. And so I wanted to give you some ideas about what you could do to set yourself apart. Because when we think about those numbers, right? Like if you were to do this stuff, you're already doing something that your competition in the market for these jobs are not doing. Just by reaching out and asking for a call, following up that call with a conversation, and then additional added value in the step 3 of this magical game changer process is this sending of something of additional value. So what might that look like? Like what would be these things of additional value? So that could be a summary of the conversation. So I was thinking about job seekers, right? But let's say you're in a big meeting with some executives and stakeholders and important people to your career in the company you work for. Let's say you were to send a summary of the one point or the whole meeting, perhaps. And I'm not talking about admin work, right? I'm just talking about maybe summarizing some particular important point in the conversation, in the meeting that you actually could have some impact on or were involved with to some of the key people after the meeting. That's an added value. Like you wanted to call their attention to this particular part of the discussion and ABC, whatever it is after that. But that's one way. But then again, going back to someone who's on a job search, has this short conversation, sends the thank you note, and now what? 5 days later, 10 days later, send them an article that is pertinent to the conversation you had, or some big news that just came out about their organization. Maybe there's an acquisition that's happening and you'll be like, hey, I just saw this article. you know, not sure how that's going to impact hiring, but I'm still out here, still looking, and want to keep that conversation going. So maybe that's something that you might do, or you give them a referral. So let's say you did talk about a particular job and you weren't the fit, but if you know someone who's a fit, boy, is that added value for this team that's looking to get someone on board fast, right? So a referral or some sort of connection to someone that might be relevant to them, again, based on the conversation. Maybe they mentioned an interest in something, and then you think to yourself, 5 days later, you're like, you know what? I'm going to see if, um, Mary would be willing to talk to this person because Mary works in that industry, or Mary, has had experience doing something like they're doing, and you make that connection, right? So that's an added value. Or again, this sort of just summary of insights on the conversation and how you believe you could um, be an asset to the company. So you may have done that a little bit in the thank you note, but now maybe following up with 3 or 4 more points about how or insights that might be relevant. So these are ways that you can do that magical game changer step 3 communication in your job search, but it also in your career with key stakeholders or executives, with you know clients, like potential clients, if you're in some sort of a sales portion of your company, that you might use this 3-step process with potential new customers. So many cool things. You can give them a recommendation letter, things like that. So, and what I would argue is the people who do step 3 are the ones who are remembered, the ones who are referred, who get supported or helped in some way, and who get pulled into, like if it's inside your organization, you get thought of for other opportunities in projects that are happening out there, because it was, that magic number 3 that you kind of cemented your value in that conversation with something unexpected. And that creates unexpected opportunities for yourself and for your career. So this just decide to try one time this week to play the numbers a little bit and reach out and ask for a short, like 5 to 10 minutes conversation with 3 people. And let's just, because I'm all about the magic number 3 right now, let's just see who might respond to this. Hey, I want to jump on a quick call about, and be specific, like that young man said, I read your book. So you might say, I saw your posting, or maybe this is some skip level person in the organization. Maybe saw something happening in their team. I saw that, wondered if you'd be willing to jump on a call with me for 5 to 10 minutes so I can ask you some specific questions about ABC. Then see what happens. Let's cross our fingers someone says yes. If they don't, send out 3 more until someone does. Then do the call, then follow the other 2 steps, send the thank you note acknowledging them for their time, and then 5 to 10 days later, follow up with something of value. You now become that person that they appreciate the extra, effort that you put in. People will notice that because it's unexpected. It is surprising. So just this week, just do yourself a favor and try to get outside of the normal job seekers are doing, and see if you can be part of the the numbers that are the unexpected, the outside of what normally is happening, right? So you're not one of the 30%, but instead you're going to pull yourself into the 70% who don't normally do it, but now you are one of the ones that do. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. This beyond the thank you note, kind of communication, magical game changer that puts you into a league that's completely setting you apart from other people, both inside in a job search and inside your career, inside your current company, with current or potential customers, vendors. Just be creative and try it and see what happens. I think it could be fun. It could be different. And who couldn't use a little fun and different in their lives right now? So that's it. And another fun and different thing, as a reminder, join our event on Friday, May 8th. Invite all your friends. We'd love to see, it's really about supporting women in creating a different way of working that works for them as you reach a certain point in your career where the corporate hustle 9 to 5 is no longer working for you. So let's explore some different opportunities there. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here again next week. I think I'm a slightly different time, but you can always join my mailing list at inspiretech.com, and you will get reminders about the upcoming LinkedIn Lives every Monday and other events that are happening. And you can also go to the website, and under the resources section, you will find the link to the same event on May 8th. If for some reason the QR code is not working for you. It does work, but you got to bring your phone really close, but eventually it will work. Or go to the website and find it under the resources page. So thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully there's some real value add here for you. And I, as always, appreciate the opportunity to connect.